Welcome to 30-Minute Reviews. I am Adam. So basically I saw a tweet the other day, or yesterday as some call it, where it was, the basic premise of the tweet was, sorry, you save the life of an executive, and he says to you he'll develop any 5 animated TV shows based on existing IP. You can't have your own; it's gotta be existing IP. What 5 do you do? Now, looking at the answers, and a lot of them were TV shows or movies. Like you would do like animated, like a redone. You would do an animated what's it called? Animated reboots of various kids shows, and continuations of kids shows, things like that. And what I thought of was there are a lot of books, children's books, not children, but like mid-grade, I would say, books, like elementary to middle school books that would be ripe for making into series. Number one, here are a few that I was thinking of that would be interesting to see made into a TV series or an animated movie. So I said originally, let's start out with Magic Treehouse, which is a book series. The basic premise of the Magic Treehouse is you have these 2 kids, Jack and Annie, I think were their names. I haven't read these books in like 15 years, so forgive me if I'm incorrect on details. But you have Jack and Annie. They find a treehouse in the woods. They go up there. There's like a library in the treehouse, and they become friends with. And they look through the books, and they can point at pictures in the books, and then travel to the place in it. So I think like dinosaurs was like the first one. They go to the first book I read was the 17th book in the series, of course, which was as you typically do when you start a book series. I would do it was Titanic. There was an Olympics book. That was the 16th book. I know that for certain because it's that one. But I read, I think, like up until the Shakespeare book, which is like the 25th, I think, and then I kind of dropped off the series. But like they also had these what's it called? They also had these companion books, which the companion books was 1 for 1 for each book, and it was about the science or the historical event. It was like a reference book for kids about that era. And I got to thinking, this would be a great, like, Magic School Bus kind of TV series. But instead of where Magic School Bus is about history, this is about science. This would be about history. And I think that, I know they're making a movie about it, and I know it's an active development or development hell, but it'd be interesting to see this as a TV series. Because if you look at the books, if you ever picked up one of them, it's about 100 pages with like size 20 or 30 font, and it's like a 6x9 book. So like it's a very quick read. And I know they end up folding like entire arcs. Every 4 books was an arc. They're gonna end up folding entire arcs into one movie. But it'd be interesting to see it done as a TV show, especially seeing how a series of Unfortunate Events was done. Which would be that'd be a cool thing for them to do, like a Netflix limited series. The next one I was thinking of, Andy Griffith, the Australian author, not to be confused with Andy Griffiths, the actor from the Andy Griffith Show, had a bunch of books. Most famously, I think, was The Day My Butt Went Psycho, and the 2 other sequels. My brother liked those. I didn't really care for those. What I did like was he had a series of books that was just disgusting, just wacky, just joking, and it was all things like that. Now, for this book, I think this would be an interesting, an interesting thing to do, because in the style of like Wayside TV show that had on Nicktoons Network in the years past, where it's kind of like the books themselves are anthologies of short stories, where it's like we have we have there'd be these little short stories. I remember one of them was one where it's like the main character is Andy, and he's just copying his sister the entire way through the book. There's one the entire way through the story, and it gets worse and worse as it goes on. There's one where he's in like a stroller, and the stroller ends up running away, and he ends up going down a hill and ends up naked in his what's it called, in his neighbor's swimming pool on accident. Like it's all things like that, and it's like it'd be an interesting thing to tell. And you could do that in kind of an anthology, or you can do it like Mad, there was that Mad show on Cartoon Network back in the late 2000s, early 2010s, where you could do that story, and because all through the borders of these books were these little comics that were drawn, similar to Mad Magazine, you could use those kind of interspersed. You could do 2.5-hour episodes. You can intersplice those in between. And it'd be interesting to see how it goes. Like, all the page numbers had jokes on them, too, if you go through. Whereas, like, the page numbers were a character, and the character would have running jokes through the entire book. Like, one of them was a snail that would do impressions in one of the chapters. There was one of them that was, like, a robot chicken, or a mechanical chicken. I'm sorry, the mechanical chicken. It was a chicken with a head sticking out of a little box. But, like, you could do those kind of, like, that could be done in that series, too. What else did I have on that list that I put up? Dan Gutman's bibliography, which is probably not the right word, but his entire collection of written work is rife to be used for an animated series. I'm thinking of two off the top of my head. Baseball Card Adventures, and there was he had a series of $1 Million X books, where like $1 Million Shot, $1 Million Goal, $1 Million Pitch, those kind of books. The Baseball Card Adventures, and I'm surprised that the MLB hasn't partnered with him and like Netflix or something to do this as a series about baseball history. It's about this kid. It's similar to it's actually very similar to Magic Treehouse, specifically about baseball. It's about this kid who has the power to, when he holds a baseball card, he can travel back in time to the era of that baseball card and meet the person in the picture. So it starts out with him finding a Honus Wagner card in his neighbor's attic, which is worth over like $10 million at this point. So he uses that, meets Honus Wagner, he meets Jackie Robinson, he meets Babe Ruth, Satchel Paige, Abner Doubleday, and it's all these key figures from baseball history. And I'm surprised they never really did that as kind of an adaptation to kind of get kids into baseball, as it's kind of struggling. I saw a projection from ESPN saying that baseball could fall off as fall behind MLS as top top sport in the United States. The other series he did, the $1 Million Shot, was none of them were connected, but it was always the same setup. There was always this contest at at some sporting event, where it's like, we're going to enter people in to see it, and you gotta get this shot, get this putt, get this pitch. If you get it, then you get $1 million. That was the entire premise. Sometimes they're successful, sometimes they weren't, but I could see them doing that as a movie, as an animated movie, more than a TV show, because you can only do that so many times with that setup and have it work, to have it go on. Another one that I would like to see done, it was a series, I forgot the name of the author who did it, 101 Ways to Bug Your, and then it was trailed off, because each book started with that, and then it was parents, teacher, sibling. I think there was one Friends and Enemies that was more recent. But that's more of a narrative-driven book, and I'd like to see that done theatrically or in a TV series. It's basically this kid. He invents something, so he wants to go to this convention to pitch it to people. He doesn't have the money to. So what he decides to do is he makes this list of how to bug people, and he starts selling it to people, and then it cascades from there. So that's another one. That'd be cool to see done. What else? There are a few that didn't make the list on Twitter, because it was 5. But The Unwanted, which is a more recent series, it's kind of like one of those dystopian books, but it's for younger grades, about how people can they're the prim and proper people. They stay with like this black and white kind of grayscale, like Empire kind of thing, and anyone who's not wanted by them gets brought and saved and brought, and instead of being killed, which is what they thought was going to happen, they get brought to this other world where they learn how to do magic through writing and through art and through music and things like that. That really captured my imagination. I'd like to see that done. That'd be cool because like that lends itself to animation. That kind of magic usage kind of really lends itself to animation. Then there's also what else was there? This one did make the list. The Watchers. Those of you like me who were born in the early 90s and grew up through the 90s and the early 2000s may remember this book series. It's by the guy who wrote the 39 Clues for younger audiences. Basically, the premise was it was an anthology series where each book was a different child. I really only read the second one, and I read the second one in depth, and it's very dark. This book, basically, this kid finds this camera. The second one specifically, I didn't read the first or any of the other ones, but this kid finds this camera, and he can look through it. He can see 5 years into the past. And because he can see 5 years into the past, he can influence events there. In the past, one of his friends died by falling into a frozen lake. So he uses this camera to save his life. And it's such a good book. It's so well written. I wanted to always find the other ones, but I could never find them at book fairs or in the Scholastic Book Order or even later years in Barnes & Noble. It's hard to find these books. By Peter Larangis. It's very good, though. I'd highly recommend it. What else am I thinking of? Ricky Ricotta's Fighting Robot from Dave Pilkey, the guy who did Captain Underpants. It's kind of like Iron Giant, but each one has aliens that invade from other planets, and his giant robot has to fight them. It's funny. If you like Captain Underpants, you'd like that one too. I think that one came first and finished. And while we're on the topic, continue Captain Underpants in a meaningful way would have been an interesting thing to do. What other kids' book series would make for good theatrical adaptations or television adaptations? So we just had a series of Unfortunate Events, and they did that beautifully on Netflix. It was very well done. The only one I wasn't too keen on was when they did the sixth book. I didn't really like how they changed the changes they made. But what are you gonna do? What else is there? I feel like there's definitely other ones I'm thinking of. Oh, Charlie Bone. I'm surprised that hasn't been done yet. Just Charlie Bone was huge among people who wanted to read above their grade level, but didn't want to read Harry Potter, for people my age. And then Harry Potter really took off, and Charlie Bone kind of got the short end of the stick. I'm surprised that hasn't been done yet, but that'll be a big one. I remember, I remember going to the book fair, and I picked up Prisoner of Azkaban, because by some genius, my mom decided that one of the kids in the PTA, one of the kids, the mom in the PTA started reading Harry Potter. So my mom had me start reading Harry Potter. She picked up Goblet of Fire for me for the first one, and then I went back and read the other ones after. I ended up with 2 copies of Goblet of Fire because one of my mom's friends got it for me as a gift because she knew I was reading it. But she didn't know I was reading it out of order. So I picked up Prisoner of Azkaban at the book fair, and I was in like the 3rd or the 4th grade at the time, and the other kid picked up this Charlie Bone book, and he's like, "Oh, you're reading that, I'm reading this." I'm like, "Okay, buddy, you do that, by all means." So that was another one that I'm surprised hasn't been done yet. What else is that I'm thinking of? The Thrawn Trilogy. With minor alterations to fit into the existing canon, could be done as an excellent Disney Plus animated series from Dave Filoni. That'd be really cool to see happen. There was also a few other ones from the old canon that they can just pretty much straight adapt with minor changes. Crystal Star pops to mind. I'd like to see them do an animated non-canon version of Splinter of the Mind's Eye, which was the original plan for Empire Strikes Back before Star Wars took off. It was a low-budget sequel idea where they go on a mission to find kyber crystals. It'd be interesting to see that done. I'm blanking right now. I feel like there's definitely more that would be really cool to get see done. And it's like, because the thing was, when I was younger, we didn't have we kind of existed in this kind of like vacuum to an extent, where we didn't have where like, yeah, IP was still, being done in movies, and they were still doing book adaptations, but Harry Potter hadn't happened yet. And then when Harry Potter happened, that changed everything, because that showed you could make millions and millions of dollars adapting a book accurately for the screen. Like, Holes was another one. Holes is probably one of my favorite adaptations from a book to a movie, because of how accurate it is to the source material. I'm surprised they never did Small Steps, which is a sequel about the character Armpit. I'm surprised they never made that into a movie or an animated movie or anything like that. But Holes is another one that's really good. Maybe if they did an accurate Wayside while we're on Louis Sekar. Maybe if they did an accurate Wayside, that'd be cool to do, see them do too. I feel like there's definitely others. Oh, Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I didn't mind the movie, but I feel you could do more with a TV show, using the art style of the book. And that art style is very unique to the book, and it'd be interesting. That'd be a really cool way to do that differently and make it set apart from other adaptations. For girls, my sister used to really love the series Dear Dumb Diary, which was kind of funny. I remember reading a few excerpts from her book just to see what it was, because she thought it was really fun. She kept showing me things, and there were a few really good jokes, and it's like to see these characters play off of each other. That would be a cool thing, maybe. Judy Blume, the Fudge series never got made into an animated show, which is surprising to me, because like that was something that was like I read all those books when I was like in second and third grade. I'm surprised that never got made into anything major. So I think we'll wrap up there for today. You can, if you have something that I missed, go ahead. You can tweet at 30min review. I'll put up a thing. Like a question: what children's books do you think would have that haven't been made into series already? Oh, one more that breaks my own rule that I was saying hasn't been done already. Alex Rider, and by extension Diamond Brothers, from Anthony Horowitz. Anthony Horowitz, I have this kind of weird thing about, because he wrote a book recently that kind of like skeeved me a little bit, about an author who ends up in his own book, and it's like he falls in love with, like, that kind of thing always kind of weirds me out. And then like in, I think it was Point Blank, the second Alex Rider book, there are a few times over the course of that series where he talks about like a 14 or 15-year-old girl in a way that's a little bit, like, a little weird, but like given the target audience is 14, 15-year-old boy, like you can kind of, like, it's weird and it's kind of gross, but like it's like the target audience would appreciate it. Like, I don't know, there's too much talk about a 15, 16-year-old girl in a very skimpy bikini on the beach of France for my liking. But he talks the Alex Rider books were all very good. It's about a teenage spy after his uncle dies, who goes off who gets recruited by MI6 to go and to be an undercover agent for them. My favorite of those was Eagle Strike, and then Archangel, and then the Diamond Brothers mysteries about these two kid detectives. And really, after seeing Onward today, I think that if I were to do that, I would definitely cast Chris Pratt and Tom Holland in the two roles as the brothers, because they have such great chemistry off of each other. But they go on, and it's basically just like a detective book, but with two younger guys, and it's like the older brother is like old enough to be an adult, but the kid is still a kid. It's a really good. Those are also really good books. But I'm gonna put up a tweet at 30min review. What children's books from when you were a kid could do for an adaptation, either as a TV show or either as a TV show or a movie. Because I'm thinking of just things from my childhood, but maybe there were series that I missed, and also I was a guy, and it was the late 90s, early 2000s. People were pretty entrenched in do not read books for girls. That's the reason why J.K. Rowling took the pen name J.K. Rowling, because if she published as a girl's name, female authors don't get read by boys, but girls will read boy or girl. So the whole thing is, that was a whole thing I remember reading about when I was younger. I know there are other series that have come out more recently. I know, like, Renegade is a thing. I know, but let me open it up, and next episode we'll talk more about it, based on what people tweet in. So look for that tweet on my Twitter account, at 30min review. I'll put that up shortly after this episode goes up. So until the next episode, have a great rest of your week.